G'day there, Signets and Swanlings. 2012 Premiership player Nick Smith here. It's my pleasure, as always, to introduce a bevy of bloods, a fan podcast of the Sydney Swans Football Club, brought to you by Noddy and Stevo, a pair of red and white tragics. So pop on the kettle and settle in as the boys had an in-depth chat about the Swans' last game, the Swans' next game, and a little bit about footy too. This is Nick Smith signing off until next week's episode. But in the meantime, remember, be good to your bloods and they'll be good to you.
Welcome back to A Bevy of Bloods. I'm your host, Noddy, and today I'm joined by Chris. G'day, Chris. How you going, mate?
Good, Noddy. Good to be here, mate. How you doing?
Well, yeah, good. Thanks, mate. In this episode number 30, we're going to be reviewing the Swannies' round one game. So fluff up your tail feathers and settle in for a bit of a yarn about our beloved Bloods. Last Saturday night, our Sydney Swans defeated the GWS Giants by 20 points with a final score of 17-10, 112 to 13-14, 92. All right, first impressions, mate. What do you think of that?
Look, first and foremost, it was amazing to be at a game again. The energy was insane. The Swans fans were rabid. It was really wonderful. Loved it. Had a great time. In terms of what was on the field, defensively, we looked a bit rough, but just good to get the win, I guess. A couple of the fellas on the field, Gus Bus really impressed me. Great to see Paddy out there again. And of course, the big story buddy never stops to entertain whatever way he does it. What about you?
Yeah, that's right, mate. So Derby 23. I guess Buddy number 23. It wasn't meant to be. The focus was on him, but it ended up playing out a different way. But nevertheless, it was a very tight, fast-paced game. Both sides going goal for goal at times. First half, Giants, I think, had the edge in clearances and possessions. As you said, we were a bit loose on defense at times, but we tidied that up in the second half, and then we had a bunch of stars step up and kick us home. I agree, mate. Great vibe in the crowd. Hoodoo Gurus, they're still rocking it, aren't they? Yeah. The weather held off. There was a bit of spitting rain for a bit, which I was glad that it held off because it was our little pluggers, my new son, his first game, and him and mum did very well to make it through to the end of the night with a boisterous cheering crowd of the Swan zone, which I felt like kind of a home game for the Swans, but. Anyway, we'll look at that going forward. Look, the wait times in the bar was ridiculous. I missed probably 20 or 30 minutes of game time just getting a round of beers. I don't know what's going on there. Anyway, so we've started season 22 in 6th place, which is where we finished up at the end of last year. We also started the year with 3 scores over 100. So here's hoping we can continue that attacking prowess. All right, mate, key takeaways and a few stats. What did you see? How'd this one play out for you?
Yeah, look, I touched on that just at the beginning, first impressions. Our defensive line from the get-go looked, if anything, disorganized, a bit lacking. They really did have an easy run to get in, to have opportunities at goal. I am the eternal optimist generally, but I saw some things that kind of made me quite concerned. At the end there, I think they kicked 1 and 4. So if they, made that 4 at the end there, that would have been a totally different game. It would have swung in their favor pretty easily. They had plenty of good shots at goal, and we didn't really make it too hard for them. Joey let up a bit of a shocker right in front of goal, and I don't know how he missed that kick. God knows how that happened, but that was a total savior. That could have been a massive momentum changer. So that was a bit concerning. I think the Smalls on their side were really, really doing a number on us. So I'd like to see what we're going to do in that start. But generally, though, some fantastic things to talk about. We'll talk about Florin in a second, but he had a career best game. That was just brilliant. And Heaney out of the middle looked fantastic. Look, what is he? He's a rugby boy, isn't he? He's a league boy from Newcastle, really, out of Cardiff. So him being in the mix of things, getting all dirty and tackling guys a couple feet in front of him is probably real natural. So this might be a really, really smooth transition for him because he looked very natural very quickly. I guess the other thing I'd probably take away from this is, do you reckon that Davis maybe has given the competition the formula for stopping Buddy? Because he had his number. He wore him like a pair of dirty underwear. He was all over him. and really made a big difference to him. And then thank God Parker rocked up and just made that difference. So, yeah, quite a few things I saw out of that, but just generally, probably the defensive line got me concerned. Yeah.
Yeah, Parker certainly didn't get the memo that it was Buddy's day, did he? He
No,
was like, I'll kick 5 here,
no,
thanks."
he lost that memo for sure. Yeah.
Overall, I think the coaches touched on this. The stats were quite close. There was nothing that really jumped out. I think it was uncontested possessions by the end of the game where the Giants had maybe 20 or 30 more, but it didn't really matter because, especially in that first half, basically inside 50s, disposal efficiency, inside 50 efficiency were all even. As you're saying, some of their small forwards, Bobby Hill and Dan Lloyd, they were really running amok, and they had us, it was looking messy at one point. But I think when we shored up the D and we made, although there was still some very sloppy tackling from some senior players in the second half, we'll put that down to the first round Blues. But once we shored that up, and we evened out some of those other areas like clearances, possessions, we kept that tackling, which Rowie was just unbelievable. We evened out those areas. And as you said, mate, really, we kicked 4-1 in the fourth and they kicked 1-4. Brander had a debut. He'd sooner forget, I think. But yeah, if they'd kicked, maybe even half of those, then there would have been pressure right until the end of the game. I mean, I felt like that pressure was there anyway, but it could have been a very different story. But it just goes to show that the games between us are pretty, us and the Giants, they're pretty close and they're pretty exciting affairs. But I'm glad we got on top in this one. I'm glad, like going to your point about Phil Davis, I'm glad that we are not relying on Buddy. And we've been working on this for a couple of years, but either way, we had to fight back into the game, which we did. The next generation of stars continues to stand up. We had multiple goal scorers, multiple avenues to goal, and then once our defense sorted themselves out, we did pretty well. We intercepted well. We're going to touch on the McCartan brothers and how good they looked, but look, it was a pleasing effort. It was a great way to start the year. One other thing I will add: our top 7 inside 50 getters were all next gen and junior players. So in order from top to first to seventh, Mills, Blakey, Florent, Goulden, Rowbottom, McInerney, Campbell, and then Parker. So that just goes to show that our senior players are moving around the ground. As you said, Joey up back, Parker up front, and we're relying on this new core of midfielders to step up, and didn't they? How fantastic. Yeah. All right, mate. What were your favourite?
On that point there, Noddy, like the top 7 inside 50 getters, all the new fellas, like, and this is not a once-off thing either. This is some of a consistency that we're seeing in our team, what the team needs to do to stay competitive. And that's what young players arguably don't do, right, is that they don't stay consistent game to game. And that's why it's kind of tricky to build them. So, but immediately, like, Gordon's on his second year. The guy looks like he's playing for 10 years. He looks like a 250 gamer. Like, just little things like that, just making an enormous difference from the very, very get-go. We'll talk about some of the other players in a second, but I think that is the biggest key that we're walking away from, is that we're having insanely consistent games from some very young players. And round one, right off the bat, we see it again, and it's very exciting.
Yeah, I mean, I think what you're referring to is like the form that we carried through to the finals last year, and then if you consider that in a chunk of footy, leading it over the preseason and then into round one, we're seeing a definite trend here that we're actually able to rely on some of these youngsters to get the job done in the middle, where it might have been more of a split of that senior players last year or even the year before that. But we'll talk off before we started recording. We're talking about centre-outs attendances and how it's the junior guys coming through again. So it played out like that. It looked good. Obviously, Parker stepping up really saved us. But we'll get on to him in a minute. All right, mate. Favorite moments. What were your favorite moments of the game? So give us an individual favorite moment from a solo player, and also like a collective team play type thing.
Yeah, look, I dare say, what can I say about Parker? I mean, he was unbelievable, like all over the field, just kicking 5 goals under that strain. And they weren't cheap either. He worked really hard to get them. He was in the right place at the right time. He's running at the back of the ball in order to get that mark. He really put his body in the line and just made it all happen. Gave away a couple there, which I'll talk about in a second, but just a captain's effort by a captain. I mean, what's better than watching a captain goal when your team is trying to change momentum? Nothing. There's nothing in the game better than that. The only thing that comes close is probably watching a ruckman try to kick a snapshot or something. That's hilarious. But a captain's goal when you're trying to swing the momentum your way is probably the most exciting thing in AFL. And yeah, just to see Parker get at it week in, week out, it's just brilliant. So yeah, he was huge. In terms of a team effort, a really, really great moment in the fourth quarter. Heaney's second goal. Started off with Tommy, a mad effort to deny Brander. Joey has one of these great moments where he clears the pack over to McLean. Hayward gets it, handballs off to Gordon. Gordon comes off halfback, absolutely screaming down the center, bounces twice, looking insanely confident while he's doing it. Kicks inside the 50. Heaney does a great job to contest. He gets to the ground, and then Parker gathers it in the way that Parker does, super smooth inside ball that he is. Make sure he gets him some space and has the quick mind to pass it on to Heaney, who just has an easy goal. So it's just huge. Like, that was a mad moment all the way from the back to the forwards, and we have some fantastic players that touch the ball all the way through. What about for yourself, individual?
Yeah, mate. Look, all of Ollie Florent's goals were class. They showed speed, strength, creativity. And I think we put one of those videos up on our socials. You put that together. I thought that was classic. He just that second goal, to me, just if he can continue that level of confidence and play, it's going to be a big year for Ollie, because he basically fended off another junior player, but a highly touted junior player, Lockie Ash, right? Fended him off, turned him inside out. I'm surprised he didn't break his ankles and fall on his butt, and then he turns and goals, just super smooth. Just unreal to see that Oflo is starting to believe, I guess the hype, for want of a better term. But I guess the thing is here that he puts it together and is able to, deliver consistency. But we'll talk about him in a minute. My favorite moment from the team was Campbell's long-range goal in the third. So we lose the centre clearance. It goes over to the far side boundary wing. This is from the broadcast, I mean. Juzzy helps. So McInerney helps Blakey. Blakey slaps it along the line to keep it in. It goes to Goulden. Goulden spots McLean out of I don't know how he does this. Out of the corner of his eye, does this deft little chip inside that just, I don't know how many players out of 100 would have found that or even thought that was an option, but it was just unbelievable to watch. Anyway, McLean collects it smoothly, handballs off to Juzzy, who's still there in support, showing his running prowess. He goes short to Parker. Parker switches to the short side of the field to Dill Stevens, who runs onto it and then has Campbell running along to the side of him, handballs to Campbell, and Campbell bombs from about, 52, 3, 4, and it clears it. I think it hit the boundary fence. So it was a massive kick. It was probably like almost 60 meters in the end, but I just thought that was beautiful again, that we lost the center clearance and through hard work and a few moments of brilliance, came back and got the chocolates. I just love that moment. But
that was huge. And that's not the first time Campbell's shown his leg. Like, he's got a fantastic kick on him. And that was, he almost kind of felt like he'd had it from the beginning, like the way he just came off his boot.
Yeah.
It was always going through the center. It was just a perfect kick.
Absolutely. Like, he just sort of had a bit of confidence about him. And when we've made a lot of, spoken at length from the end of the trade period last year, how we lost, Dawson, who has a beautiful left kick. But, we're blessed for beautiful left kicks at the moment. And when you see stuff like that from Goulden and Blakey and, and Campbell, and even Dill Stevens has got a lovely kick, these guys are all lefts. So I mean, there's plenty more lefts. There's probably another 6 or 7 players that I haven't mentioned there, but the future's bright. And I mean, he's a mid forward. That's the other scary thing, is Campbell's being played out of position, but it's all ahead of him. So I don't know. It feels good. It feels good again. I mean, it's always feels good to be a Swans fan, but it feels even better when you see these young guys doing stuff like that. All right, mate. Up next, we are going to be talking about the Bevy's Best and Fairest. That's right, the ABOB medal. So this is our equivalent of the Bob Skilton medal. this week, our combined best three were Parker, Heaney, and Florent. So we've touched on them already. We're going to just round it out with a few more comments and stats, but we'll kick off with you, mate, with Parker.
Yeah, look, once again, the captain takes us out of a sticky situation. He was unbelievable. I think one of the major keys, we're all talking about his 5 goals because that's an easy stat to talk about because that's the game is offensive. But what we didn't pay attention to was the fact that he was tagging, or not tagging, but he was instructed to go over to Tom Green and just slow him down. Tom Green had already had 14 touches. From my recollection, something like 15 minutes into that first quarter, or like maybe 20 minutes into the first quarter. He was killing it. And if he continued doing that, he would have just taken the game away. And Parker's gone over to him, started slowing him down a bit, put a body on the guy. Tom's a very big boy, but so is the fridge. And I think a bit of that impact kind of made a massive difference. So Parker, offensively and defensively, did an enormous job of the game.
Yeah, mate, you're right. 5 tackles. He's second for the Swans, beaten only by Rowie. 24 pressure acts, also second most by a Swan. 11 score involvements, not just kicking them, but creating them as well. Just sublime. As you said, a captain's knock. It was unreal. We needed it in the moment, and he stepped up. I think it was he kicked 3 or 4 of the 5 in that period from the third quarter to the fourth. When game was in the balance, and he really just stood up. And he's done this time and time again, but probably more from the middle, less from the forward half, which is sort of where he's playing majority of the footy, or looks to this season. But yeah, look, just sublime, mate. You may have even used that word, I'm not sure, but he was just sublime. Like, he was kicking off his right and his left. These were all, beautiful moments where he's crumbing, he's really soft hands, getting the ball off the ground and just hooking it right and left. It was just unreal. The 4-year contract at the end of last year, or before, worth it, right? Worth it. Easily justified in the first outing. I mean, I know 4 years is a long time, but when he's doing stuff like that, we're very, very lucky. Yeah, but so the last time I dug into this. The last time he kicked 5 was in 2015, round 7 against Geelong, funnily enough at Stadium Australia, where he also kicked 5-1. So I made the offhand comment that maybe we look to start playing in Stadium Australia every week, so Parker can...
I think you're going to have some pretty upset Sydney-siders. If you
Me too, mate. I remember. I was like, get us out of here. Let's go to the SCG.
It reminded me, going back there, why I hated going back there. It's not only are the lines to the beers and everything just an absolute shocker, but most importantly, fair enough, you're going to be sitting in line to go do stuff because it's a stadium and there's 25, 30,000 people there at the game this week anyway. But there's no screens to even watch the game on like a 5-second delay or anything. Like,
at the bar, you mean?
At the bar, there's no screen. Yeah. There's one cathode ray tube screen from 1994 up on the wall, and that's all they had. Like, it was a shocker. It's a pretty ordinary place to be at.
Yeah, mate. They needed to take some of the budget from the Megatron, that gigantic screen from inside the stadium, and splash a few 75 inches in the beer line. But I'm with you there, mate.
Don't get me wrong, it's an impressive screen.
Oh, that was crazy.
No doubt about that. That's a wild screen, but it also, that's where all the budget went, obviously, because it wasn't anywhere else. It's like, it's been the same stadium since 1999 when they built it out, and they haven't changed it. So
that's it. They haven't fixed the irrigation either. We had players slipping over left, right, and centre.
That's right.
Hey, mate, let's get on to Heaney. Isaac the Heat Heaney. All right, so over to you, mate.
Yeah, look, the Heat was on fire.
Yeah.
What can we say, as he always is? Look, we know what he can do. We know as Swans fans, and I think the whole industry knows how good of a player he is just naturally.
Yeah.
He's got the gifts. The guy can kick both legs. He's got a great engine. He's becoming a smart football brain. He's hard as nails. But to see him switch into the mids and to be as natural as that was really great to watch. He still swung up the forward line to make some impact there, to have a rest. If he's going up forward to have a rest, like, look out competition. Like, the guy can take one of the best hangers in the game week in, week out. Just huge game from the Heat. I'm just so excited about seeing him with a few more games under his belt in the mids, because I really do think that he's a high chance for a Brownlow in time.
Mm.
The Brownlow is only ever given to the mids because they're right in front of the umpires and everything, right? So they get a lot of they got a lot of the ball, and they're out there getting the stats, and are all pumped up. And the Heat has kind of always been this fantastic player the Swans look at and go, right, he's going to be an integral part of this win, or he'll swing back and make sure that he gets that nice specky to slow down the ball coming at the back. He's getting bombed, and he just reads it really well, reads the game really well. But now we're going to see him in the mids, racking up those numbers. I think the competition is going to start gushing even more than they are. Yeah, I'm pumped. I love the guy. I can't wait to see more of the Heat.
Yeah, awesome, mate. 3 goals from 3 shots. He had. So this gives you an idea of just how hard he runs. So, as you said, mate, like he's a mid resting, well, going forward, but he basically doesn't rest. Like, I'll have to double check his time on ground, but the guy, he spent like 60% of his time on ground in the defensive half, assisting. So he had 14 defensive half pressure acts. His efficiency wasn't great, but he had a stack of the footy, 25. He's tackling. He's third highest tackler for the Swans. Just 22 pressure acts in general. Yeah, I don't like. He's all over the park. He's clean, elusive. He's impossible to mark up on. In terms of centre bounce attendances, as we mentioned earlier, he was actually on par with Parker and Florent. So if you think of the games that they've had, and these were the bulk. This is where the bulk of our goals came from: Parker 5, Ollie 3, Heaney 3. Right, they're playing similar games, but they all have the ability to chop it up and switch role. So as you said, when Tom Green was getting off the hook, that's when Parker went and had the majority of those centre bounces to stem his flow. But it's so relieving that we've got I don't want to say similar. I think Parker and Heaney are probably more similar in terms of what they can do on a footy field than Florent. Both Parker and Heaney can fly and take spectacular marks. But as we said earlier, like if Oflo can start to play like he did this game, then if we have those 3 guys, because the other big point here is that with Papley's out for the first probably month of footy, right? And he's kicked 30, 40 goals for us. And so, we need to fill that void. And so, especially as Davis doing such a good job on Buddy as he did, we need to find other ways to goal, with the likes of McLean as well stepping up. So, Heaney was just sensational. It was great to see. And it's exciting that, hopefully he's going to build this, combination with Mills, his junior academy mate, and just continue to form this, left-right combo. It's very exciting.
It's so funny that they are such different players.
Yeah.
In essence, like they are so different. So,
yeah.
But they've got their own insanely important skill sets between themselves. And you would take any one of them first round of any team if you're going to build it out, right? That's the kind of depth we have with these 2 fellas. It's just grand to watch. They've been around for as long as they have, and look, they're going to be around for a long, long time.
Melbourne did, mate. Melbourne bid on Heaney at pick, I think it was 3 or 5 or something. Obviously, we bid, we matched that, and then they took Petrarca. And then the following year, Melbourne bid on Callum Mills and took Clayton Oliver. So in my mind, Track and Clary are one up on our boys because they won the flag last year. But it's an interesting 4 players if you think about it and how their careers are going to play out. But that's not really for this topic. But you just had me delving there, going down the rabbit hole. All right, mate. Let's finish up with Florent there. How about you?
Yeah, Florent, man. Like I last week during the ABOB preseason review, yourself and Steve-O kind of gave the bit of the word. You basically just summed up his career. And we'll come into grips with the fact that maybe Florent's career isn't going to be that A-grade talent that we were all expecting. He'd had a bit of a quiet year the prior year. The year before that, had a decent year, but it didn't have any massive effect. But he was always quite dependable. He's got the speed. He's a smart player. He gets around. it's all good. But then this week, you guys did the same thing that what you did to Blakey last year. You were kind of calling Blakey out a little bit, and then Blakey comes out and has an absolute screamer after spending a bit of time in the VFL. And you called out Florent, and he's just come out game one, had a career best game. Like,
I'd love to take some credit here, mate.
No, I'm blaming Steve-O and you mostly for this one. But he looked just brilliant. And I kept thinking Jetta when I see him dancing around, the speed that he has,
Yeah.
the way he jumps on the ball, and he goes like, he doesn't have that slinky lizard way of running, but when he starts going, it's the jets are on and he's off.
Yeah, he looks faster than last year. I don't know what it is, if he's worked on his speed and his pace, and or it's that he's just got that haircut that makes him look like he goes a bit faster.
They all do, mate. I think that's why the speed's kind of kicked up in our game.
They got rid of the mullets, apart from Blakey, obviously.
Yeah, that's it. Blakey loves it.
So
look, the other thing I'd probably touch on is that looking at some of the photos to actually put onto this podcast, he has bulked up a lot.
Yeah.
He's much more muscle. He was quite a lean kid throughout the whole career, and he slowly put a bit of weight on and whatever. But this year he looks much, much more powerful. So I don't know whether that's a big part of it. They've got him on a different regime over there to just sort him out, but he looks the goods. Really, really good. Let's see how that goes for the next few weeks. But so far, so good. Very, very happy.
Definitely, mate. Like, fingers crossed that fend off on Ash was bloody good. Well, we can't say it was Dusty like, but I mean, you can really, because it was that kind of thing that Dusty does. But look, same as Heaney, 3 goals from 3 shots. Oflo had 20 disposals, going at 90%, so that's pretty great. He had a Swans high 12 score involvement. So, in and around the ball, scoring and helping others score. Best game I've ever seen him play. I really hope he can keep going. I think I read on the Mongrel Punt, so I'll give those guys a bit of a shout out. They were saying, and I understand that they went through and looked at all the history and the stats. They're saying that when Ollie Florent has 20 disposals, the Swans are I can't remember the percent, but basically when Ollie has 20 touches, we're 68% more likely to win. Also, we win 68% of the time. Whereas if he's under 20 touches, we only win like 38 or so percent of the time. I thought that was a fantastic stat that someone did their homework on, and I might have to double check that. But if it's true, then I guess we want Ollie touching the footy a bit more often. I mean, or playing the game like he did. Yeah. All right. Well, that's the A-Bob medal this week. We've got a few honourable mentions here, mate. Just because we had a bunch of really good players this week. Let's have a few comments on your honourable mentions.
Yeah. Look, straight off the bat, Sheldrick. He looked very, very good, very natural. You can tell he's a massive competitor. He was throwing his head over the board any opportunity. It seemed natural to him. He absolutely is a see ball, get ball kind of character. The amount of times that he's within a couple of meters of the ball, it's his head going in first somehow, just to like rub over that ball and just to grab it out. And he gets his hands on it really well, and he's immediately looking to the outside to pass it off to someone. So I know the Gus bus. He was.
I'm on the Gus bus. Yeah,
I've got season tickets on the Gus bus.
Nice.
He just looks the goods. So I'm really excited about his future, and we're going to touch on it a bit later, but how he's not going to keep his spot in the side, which he may not, is going to be super interesting. So anyway, I'll leave that there.
Yeah, mate, I agree. He looked very sharp. He actually looked like Parker. Some of the stuff he did out there, he looked like that, like exactly what Parker was doing on that day. Crumbing, beautiful, beautiful hands picking up, and he almost kicked a goal, but it was smothered, I think, toward the end of the game. And that motion that he did, where he picked up that ball to have that snap on goal, was just. It was Parker-like, and there's a lot to really like about him. And I'm the same, mate. I'm on the Gus bus, and be awesome if you're on the Gus bus going to the Amati party. But we'll have to get Amati back in, won't we? So
you actually reminded me too. The first goal was, we kind of crumbed it into the pocket, and then it was actually the Gus bus that did a little poke with his toe to get it towards goal. Now that's the kind of stuff that you see, a smart player doing. Hayward did it a bit later down the park, but that's just get it in a dangerous area, and he just put his foot on it, put it towards the dangerous area, and we got a goal off the back of it. So I think he's primed to just kick off straight away. He's 18 years old. He's big enough to play. He's obviously competitive enough. I don't see how he doesn't play every week, but hey, let's see. There's obviously some growing he needs to do, but yeah, we'll let the horse go through all that.
I actually raised him as the Smoky to fill in for Papley, and I think I saw that as what, Wicks always plays his small forward pressure role, but then Papley that can chop into the center as well. I don't think Gussie had much time in the middle, but yeah, no, I see yeah, we're gonna have to wait and see. But yeah, I mean, he did himself a lot of favors with that performance, but we'll wait and see. All right, my honourable mention, mate, was James Rowbottom. Rowie, what a game! What a game! He in the first quarter. He had his hands on everything. He was tackling everything. By the end of the game, he had the most tackles for both sides. He was the only player to have double digits, right? 31 pressure acts, 16 in the defensive half. So there you can see that he and Heaney are working hard in their two-way running. They're pushing back. They're helping the defenders, especially when they needed it. As we both mentioned, our D had a pretty tough first half. So we had the likes of Heaney and Rowie pushing back, helping out, which is actually what Ollie Font was doing last year, funnily enough. Him and Juzzy, but so maybe they're switching that around. Anyway, Rowie had Swans high 7 clearances, so tied with Hickey. So yeah, just thought he had a wonderful game. And look, if we were choosing 5, he would have been my 4th, obviously. But apart from those boys, Errol, Lizard, and Paddy all had great games.
Yeah. I think on Rowie there, I've been hiding him for quite some time. I think he's got mad talent. He's got a very high ceiling, this kid. Just watching him out of the middle for quite a while, he gets his hands on the ball and he has a great line out. I think you made mention in the preseason preview where you mentioned that you kind of need that halfback to kind of get to the ball and then pass it on to the ones who are going to use it better. And that's kind of his game. But then you also forget that he does have a pretty nice kick on him. Like I remember that game against the Cats last year where we probably shouldn't have won that game. We probably had that beautiful kick to win the game and seal it in the last minute. Rowie kicked a goal from 50 out.
Yeah, I remember that one.
That went straight down the middle. And
beautiful
he's done
kick.
that a couple of times. Yeah. He's a very good kick. So when we're talking about losing Dawson, I know you're a bit of a basketball nut. I'm actually a bit of a baseball nut on the side. And everyone, if you've seen, Moneyball, it's all like building out the statistics in aggregate. So we might have lost to Dawson, who had a very good, the best boot in the game right now, arguably. But we've kind of filled him up with a bunch of other players that also have very nice touches on the boot. So we may not have that one star player who's just got that blistering boot from the wing or the halfback to just put in the right position. But if everyone has a 10%, 15% better than average kick, half the team has that, then it just kind of it levels itself out. So I don't know. Just little things like Rowie just having a mad boot, just getting onto the ball. And look at the names you've got here. You've got Errol, Lizard, like mad boot. And Paddy, even he had some fantastic kickouts. Like the guy can kick 60 off a step. Like, yeah, I don't know. Just we may have lost a Jordan, but we've kind of made him up in some other ways.
Well, it's funny you talk about the loss of Dawson. I see the loss of Hewitt being immediately covered by Rowie. So, obviously Hewitt has got the, and he had a fantastic game against the Tigers, didn't he? So it was just like one of those moments where you're like, what have we done?
Yeah.
I actually, I loved Hewitt like as a player, and, I just thought he brought a lot to our club, but, played out as it did. But, we obviously had players ready to step in, and Rowie really is that role. He's the tackling beast. He can have a run with role if he needs to. I don't know if he had any specific tasks, any targets this time, but he was everywhere. And if you can continue to play like that, everyone has clangers, right? Joey Kennedy, we're going to talk about in a moment. Not everyone's always 100% of the time, especially if you've got more than, if you're having more than 10 or 15 disposals. So. I mean, if you can get 100% kick efficiency, that's fantastic. But, it's not always about that. As you said, we just want him to dig it out and get it forward, especially with Warner still out, because Warner is very good at that as well. Yeah. All right, mate, if you're cool, let's move on to next section. That's just some hot topics. So I'm just going to say a few things, and we'll just chat about it as they come up. So In terms of injuries from the game, we were good apart from Juzzy's knee knock, which happened right towards the end of the game. Horses said that it wasn't serious, but I think it's a watch and see. I really hope he's okay. I didn't really get a chance to have a close look at the actual incident. Did you see it, mate?
I actually didn't even notice it until it got mentioned on Twitter.
Okay.
That I saw today. So yeah, I didn't see the moment. If Horse says it's not too serious, and Horse is typically honest enough anyway. He'll just say he'll just talk around the question if there's something to worry about.
Yeah.
So yeah, I look, put him on a bit of cotton wool as well. Like, don't take chances this early in the season. We expect a lot from him, and he's been quite consistent the last couple of years. So do what we can to make sure we get him at full fitness, I think.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's see how that goes. Here's a question that's hot on the mind's lips and thoughts of a lot of Swans fans. Is Joey actually suited to be playing in the back half?
I don't know why this was an option. He's never that way inclined. He's always been in the middle. I know we're trying to change up his role because we want him to last a couple more years, and we've got some fellas to put in the mix, and we want to make sure they get their time to learn the craft. And you'd be silly to have a sideline. It's just not the kind you want to be doing. But yeah, him one-on-one with anyone was a rough affair to watch. It was he's a bit flat-footed. Joey, he doesn't have that spring in his step. He's not the kind of fellow who's going to go out there looking for a mark and float over to a ball. He's going to wait till it gets down on the ground and then just absolutely reef it off the person that gets to it first, tackle them and probably hurt them and make them wish that they never played against him. That's his game. And so I think having to change it up to be this sprightly moving halfback is a bit of a weird way to go about it. What do you think?
Yeah, look, I understand that that's the play. Like, it's pretty common in the industry now for those the pillars of a midfield unit towards the end of their career to move to the halfback so that they can provide some guidance on structures and also just keep in the system. Let's think about our own club. Jared McVeigh is a very good example of that. At the moment, in another club, Pendlebury, he's moved from the midfield to the halfback. Very famously, Luke Hodge as well started on the ball, I think, and then moved to the halfback. And they're all excellent players, and Joey's up there with the best of them. I mean, this guy's on the precipice of beating two all-time records. I think it's in contests, contested possessions and clearances. I'll double check. I'll check that for next week. But I don't think he's going to be getting them on the half back line. But he's not really like a Macca or a Pendles or a Hodgie in that he's never really been one of those players that's had time when he's had the ball. He's just been a beast, right? He just works it out and gets it forward, and he's a bit like what Parker did. When we've needed him to step up and kick goals, he's been able to do that because it's middle and forward. I've never considered Joey an option for middle and back, but Horse was on the record in the press conference afterwards saying, he just needs some flying hours. So he specifically referenced Kennedy, Campbell, and McDonald. These three players just need some flying hours, so they just need a bit of time in the saddle. And he's confident that they'll all play the role that they need to for the club. So Joey's an amazing footy player. He's been such a leader for the club for over a decade. You need him on the team, and you said it there. You need him on the park just for his experience and his skills. But let's hope that he can find his feet and quickly, because I think a fair few Swans fans are a bit nervous when it gets in his hands on that halfback. But
a couple of the players that you touched on there, so your McVeigh, your Hodge, your Pendlebury, they all have a similarity, which was they all had a pretty good boot. They had a good kick on them.
Yeah.
Joey has never been really known for having a sharp boot on him, which is kind of a big thing you need as a halfback. You want to move the ball back to the sides, forward. You've got to snap that kick in really quickly and smoothly, so to get a run on. So there's one thing that I think he's probably going to need to work on. You know what? He's never probably had to work on that to a massive degree, because he's been so successful in that inside role, and he's been one of the best consistently his entire career. So maybe it's just a matter, as Horse is saying, just to need a bit more time to just kind of flavor him up a couple of skills that probably he's not spent a lot of time sharpening over the last 5 years, 6 years, even just recently. And we might start seeing a very, very, very tidy, smart player at the back there, which I really hope for. And I do genuinely believe it. But at the very moment, it's a little bit perplexing. Let's see where he ends up.
Yep, fingers crossed, because I want him in the mix, obviously. I think most Swans fans do. Gussie, as we've touched on, very solid. Does he play next week, or will he have the week off, not to overload?
I think he has the week off, especially if you've got Chad coming back. I think he needs to step off. But again, he's probably the first in line to take a role back in any pressure position. If we're trying to find a player to put pressure in the forwards or the backs or in the mids in any way, shape, or form, I do genuinely believe it's probably him in the short term until he gives us, or someone else gives us a reason why it shouldn't be. Yeah.
All right. How far away is Laddams, or do we keep rolling with the Hickey-McLean combo until it doesn't work? Because it really worked against the Giants.
Yeah, I mean, I have to ask you, like, what? I know you were quite big on Laddams to bring him on.
I thought he was a lock for round one, mate. Like I was confused when he was sent to the VFL. I thought maybe I think we were talking to Steve-O, the only reason that they would maybe think of doing that is to just get him a whole game in the ruck. But yeah, so then that's why we were saying like maybe he was a close contact, but we don't really know. It's conjecture. But obviously they've given McLean and McDonald first dibs, and McLean in the ruck is more than capable, as is Amadi. So maybe it was just a matter of that, and they've taken McLean. I think had a very good game as well. So maybe Laddams needs to wait a couple more weeks. But
well, look, one thing I do see with McLean is that he is a massive competitor.
Yeah,
he really wants to get stuck into it. I don't think there's few players that get as pumped up as Papley, as we all know, but McLean is kind of up there. Like when something goes his way, he wears that emotion out. When something doesn't, he makes a mistake, or a ball's gotten away from him, or or another player's kind of gotten the better of him. He also shows that too. He really wants to win at every single contest. So that's the kind of player you want, especially from a young player. You want to see that hunger. I see it week in, week out with him, and he's not given me any reasons why he shouldn't be playing. So we know Laddams is really, really good. Is he that much better than McLean is my question.
Yeah, look, I think it might be that if Hickey needs a week off here or there, then maybe that's where they if McLean continues, maybe that's how Laddams forces his way in. But we spoke on the podcast last year. The running numbers that McLean does is elite in terms of kilometers per game. It's up there with midfielders. So this guy, as you said, he's competitor. He works really, really hard. So, a guy like that is going to be doing everything he can to keep his spot. So, we'll wait and see. So this sort of brings all these questions together, mate. If Lloyd and Chad have been announced as locks to come back in, who goes out? We've touched on a few players here, but, if let's say Juzzy's okay and he's in and we've got to make way for two players, who do you make way for?
Yeah, look, if the Chad comes in, I think Sheldrick just needs to sit it out.
Yep.
Not because he didn't play well enough, but I think our best team is probably him out with Chad in.
Yep.
And with Lloyd coming in, I think that's the harder question. I mean, who do you take out? Like a Cunningham? Like he's consistent. You don't want to take him out of it.
He's in the leadership group, and
he's a leadership group. He's a little bit of a general out there. He's always talking. Him and Rampy work insanely well together. Like,
do you rest Campbell? Do you Campbell a week off as well?
Yeah, he took
or Stevens
so much time
maybe
off last year.
Yeah,
Campbell did, and he deserves to be on the pitch because again, he's made no reason. He's never given us a reason why he shouldn't be on the field every single game. Maybe Stevens.
You don't rest Joey, do you? Not in round two.
you don't rest Joey around too.
All right.
You don't, especially against the Cats, because he knows that team inside out. I think he might even flow into the middle to just give him a bit of help.
Yeah, balance out the seniority, because the Cats, obviously they've got a very experienced list, and I think it was like a third of their, or maybe even half of their list are over 30. So we do need experienced players. Yeah.
Yeah, no one can run with Paddy Dangerfield, but you need someone to have a body on him to slow him down in some way before he's touched the ball. And I think, guys like you need him. You need Joey in there to do that.
The other thing is, Colo Reardon was the med sub. It wasn't used, but he's obviously in the mix there, and he can play that role of the halfback, and probably at a pitch. Head into the midfield. Not that he's really known for that, but he must be in the mix as well. All right, we're going to obviously announce on Thursday, but I'll explain that in a moment. One last thing, mate. Can Buddy get 4 goals against the Cats?
I don't want to disappoint Swans fans.
You don't want to disappoint yourself, mate.
Boy, well, I'm going to Game 3 down in Melbourne.
You're going to round 2 as well, right?
Yeah, I'm going to round 2. So I want it to happen at the SCG. I want them to kick 4. I want the 4th one to be 5 minutes before the final bell. And so we all can just run on the pitch and just have the best day and just give Buddy the kind of respect from the fans that we can. But I just don't see it. I think it's going to be a bit of a struggle. What about you?
I did too, mate. Like, I was really hoping he could kick at least 2 against the Giants. And then that way it was probably, more likely. But you never know. Buddy could just turn it on, and, he's the greatest showman. So, I mean, I'm hoping that it happens next week, because I don't know. I don't know if little Plugger and my missus are going to make it through another evening of late night footy with a 9-month. But so I'm selfishly hoping it happens at the SCG. But like, if it happens down in Marvel, that's where it happens. And I'm glad at least one of the members of the O'Reilly rabble, in your good self, will be down there representing. So look, we're all excited. I think the excitement hasn't gone away, and I'm excited for him to, once he's beyond the 1,000, to be honest, to then have a crack at, the next 2 players in line. 1,031, I think, for Gary Ablett, and then 1,057 with Doug Wade. So,
if he goes on for another year, which he quite can do.
Fingers crossed, mate. I hope so. Like, if he's good for another 30, 40 this year and similar next year, there's no reason he can't end up being 4th best time. Best all time.
Well, question, I guess, for yourself.
Yep.
Despite the fines, despite the threat of I don't know, charges or whatever they decide to do, will you be running on the pitch no matter what?
So, I mean, obviously, logistically, there's some considerations with a baby carrier and then a baby. And then, so I think the plan for us is to hold back once people have gone on. And that's more for a health and safety point of view for the baby. But look, I mean, come on. They've got to let us on. Come on. Buddy said storm the ground. If there's any additional fines, I'm sure Buddy will cover it.
Yeah. And I did see Gil. Gil had a great answer. What was the exact word? Something to the effect of, look, you shouldn't, but it'd be a great look.
Yeah.
So my official stance is don't do it, but my heart says it'd be the best thing to see.
Well, there you go. Some very mixed messages from the top of the AFL. Yeah. So look, I think that's as close to a blessing as we're going to get. So, fingers crossed that it happens next week, mate. All right, mate. Well, that brings us to the end of this episode. So on behalf of the Bevy, I'd like to say thank you very much for everyone listening in. Tune in again on Thursday night on our socials for our team selection announcement reaction, and we'll have a preview up there as well. And also look forward to a quick bevy, which is basically a bevy of bloods, but we just do some game day hijinks, and we release that on YouTube. I mean, you can tell us more about that, Chris. Do you want to? I'll pass over to you quickly.
Yeah, look, we're trying to have a bit of fun out there. We get to meet a lot of really cool people along the day. It was at Fraser on Saturday. We got to
Fraser and Andrea, yeah.
Fraser and Andrea, and actually bumped into Fraser in the toilets, and I said hello, which was a half awkward moment, but also very, very riveting at the same time. So hi, Fraser, if you're listening in. Sorry to scare you at the urinal.
I
But
saw
there
him on the train home, and he goes,
yeah.
"I met Chris at the urinal." I was like, "Oh man, this is all getting very." It's like we're all, it's all converged. But no, it was awesome meeting those guys.
Yeah.
I also met Uncle Terry from the Moody's, Darren Gilshanen, who's a Swans fan. I did a video. The sound quality's a bit poor, so I was going to pass it over to you, but we'll hopefully get it up onto our socials. And yeah, just a shout out to him. He's obviously a fantastic, local actor. And he came along and watched the footy and had a chat to him after the game. So that was pretty cool.
Wow, yeah, brilliant. And I think that's really what we're trying to do, isn't it? We're trying to just kind of meet some more Swans fans, do some fun content, and yeah, just kind of, I don't know, just kind of share the love, basically.
That's it.
We all love the game. We all love the Swannies, and just an opportunity to meet as many of you that we can is really our goal.
That's it, mate. Otherwise, make sure to keep following us on Instagram and Facebook and our other areas on the social mediums at A Bevy of Bloods for updates and announcements. Until then, up the Bloods and can you Swannies?
Swannies.